Welcome to the EntreEd Talk podcast. We are your hosts, Toy Hirschman and
Laura McCall.
Join us as we dive into incredible stories from inspiring entrepreneurs around the world.
Whether you are an educator looking for ideas to engage students, a new learner, or someone who wants to be inspired, our guest journeys and their ideas will give you resources to create value and take your own leap into entrepreneurship.
We are so looking forward to sharing our message with you.
And don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe to the EntreEd Talk podcast on whatever platform you listen.
Hey friends, welcome back to another fun episode of the EntreEd Talk podcast. I am so delighted to have Michael Archbold with me today. He is an experienced educator of 12 years and devoted husband and father to 4 wonderful children. Driven by helping students, he takes tremendous pride in providing the best education possible for his students. As a business educator, his goals are to help his students become financially fluent and seek out their why so they can live out a life that is meaningful to themselves and the world at large. Michael is most proud of presenting workshops to fellow educators about re-examining their why. Welcome, Michael. I'm so excited to have you today. This is going to be so much fun.
Toy, welcome. You've made me sound way better than what I think I am right now. So I hope I can live up to my billing here.
You will be fantastic. Listeners don't know, we had a pre-conversation and you're going to love this guy. All right. So I want to dive in, but before we do, can you just share with us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today and what it is that you're doing today?
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for asking me to come and share with your listeners and hopefully some additional listeners who tune in for the first time. But my story, I think, is an interesting one. I graduated, or went to college, I should say. Went to college for business administration. Graduated in the 4.5-year plan. Decided that I wanted to work. My first job out of college was, to show my age, was working for Verizon Super Pages. I sold yellow page advertising, bold listing to, plumbers and lawyers, full page ads. I did all that stuff. From there, went on to work in insurance. Moved to Florida, worked in staffing, worked in customer service, worked in collections. I've kind of been all over the business world spectrum. And I think somewhere towards the end of that, I realized that I really wasn't being fulfilled. And I think I was just kind of going through the motions. I was just, it was the paycheck, and I'd go to work, I'd get paid on the 10th, I'd go to work, I'd get paid on the 25th, and just realize that, is this really what I want to do for the next 30, 40 years of my life? And I said, it's not. And I said, I love business. I love the inner workings of business. I love marketing. I love talking with people. I love helping. I love all of those things. And I said, what better way to kind of continue on in the business world but become a high school teacher, which sounds kind of weird, but I felt like that was the next best step. So I went back and got my teaching certification, got my master's in education, and decided to become a business teacher. And that's kind of where I am today. And I think I am so happy that I decided at that stage to just give up that, that rat race in my idea of just kind of doing the thing just to get the paycheck. And now I feel this is kind of where God wants me to be, and this is where I need to be, and this is where I can affect the most change for the kids and the adults and the people that I come in contact with. So I wouldn't change anything about where I'm on in this journey.
That's awesome. Well, I know that all your students and all us educators are glad you decided to make that choice. So what is a yellow page?
A yellow If there's anybody that's like under the age of like maybe like 16 or 15, they might not know. But a long time ago, they used to have these things called books. And you would open up this telephone book and it would have everybody's phone number listed. And then you would open up to the back, let's say, for example, if I needed a plumber, there was this thing called the yellow pages. I'd open up the yellow page and there would be a plumber and I would call that person. My job was to get them, when it just said Archbold Plumbers, let me give him a little box and put in a little saying or a full page ad that said Archbold's Plumbers in there. So that way, when you flipped, you could do it. There was no web page. And the crazy thing is, right when I was leaving working Yellow Pages, I think that's when internet advertising started getting really big because I remember we had I can't remember. I think it was called Verizon Online Super Pages, and I remember selling that, and that was like, oh my gosh, guys, you can, you know, attorney so and so, you can get online, and we can put your presence there, and it was like a new thing, and it's so funny to even talk about it now that I was a part of that, and it was new to me, so that's kind of crazy.
It's amazing how fast it's just,
That's so
I'm thinking
funny.
right now. I remember you had to dial the number, and you can't just push the anyway. That's we could go on.
Yeah, there's no like, hey Google, tell me how many plumbers are in my area. There's none of that. It's you just go, you have to look in a book for all the plumbers. That's how you found one.
Crazy. So, tell us a little bit more about what you talked about helping your students find their why. So tell us a little bit more about what it looks like in your classroom and like what specifically in the business realm do you teach and what does that look like?
I
And then
I
like with COVID.
okay.
After that, tell us what it looks like now.
So I will say normal first, and then maybe if I don't answer it, then maybe remind me, and I'll tell you what it looks like today. But I teach probably everything, or I've at least taught everything in a high school business curriculum that you can probably think of. I've taught marketing, I've taught sports and entertainment marketing, I've taught entrepreneurship. I'm teaching Incubator now. I've taught uh, computer applications, which is Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access. I've taught old school keyboarding. Okay, I've taught introduction to business, web page design. I think that may cover personal finance. I didn't mention that. I teach currently personal finance, so those are kind of the classes. So through that, I think the curriculum is really important, right? Like I'm hired as a business teacher. My job is to make sure that the kids understand the class and the curriculum and the coursework and work them through there. But for me, my big gig or piece that I'm really trying to get my students to understand is, why are you doing all this mess? Right? Like, I can give you the worksheet, you can fill out the worksheet, turn the worksheet back in, and I put a grade on there, and grade, okay, cool, you got a 90, and then we just keep doing that whole kind of rat race that we've always been doing. But I'm really trying to get my students, what's your purpose? Right? Like, what's your purpose? Because 90% of my students that I see aren't going to be going into the business world. I would love it. It would be like, oh my gosh, Mr. Archbold, you're the reason why I went into marketing. That would make me really happy someday, right? But I recognize some of them are going to be doctors, some want to be physical therapists, some want to go into whatever the case may be. But helping them to really understand what's your stand, right? I'm reading a book right now from a Navy SEAL, right? Mark Davies, I think is his name. But what's your stand? Right? Like, what's the thing that's not going to allow you to kind of knock off your linear state to move forward? Is it hey, like, I want to provide for my family? Like, that's your why? Like, that's the motivating factor? Is it I want to, become a millionaire? Is it, like, what is it? And I try to have those real conversations with my students to get them to dig down deep, because again, as the teacher, it's about personal finance because you're here, you need the credit so you can graduate. It's about that. But if I can really get you to start thinking, and again, it would be awesome if as soon as they walk out, Mr. Archbold, I have found my why. Thank you so much. That puts a smile on my face. I recognize that that's not the majority, but I really want students when they leave their interaction with me for the semester, are they on a better trajectory for their life? Fill in the blank, whatever that trajectory means for them, college, military, work, provider, whatever it is, can I help them to get on that trajectory? So if through conversations, through projects, through bringing in speakers, with connecting them with mentors, if I can help them to do that, I think I sleep really well at night.
That's awesome. I wish that everybody did that as a teacher. That's really, it's tough. I just had a conversation with someone in the last podcast about, we both started out also career changers like you. We started out as, when we put our feet into education realm, 8th grade math, right? So we're like, that's a really hard why. And I remember coming in as a non-traditional teacher going, okay, I need rocket ships, I need trash balls, I needed all this. So I was actually kind of doing this experiential learning thing without really understanding what it was that I was doing. But it was just trying to get that, like, I know why you need algebra and pre-algebra, but it's that's awesome that you do that.
But the thing, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I wish somebody would have done that with me when I was in school, and because I just went through the robotic motions to get to the college, to get to the thing that wasn't fulfilling ultimately.
And the crazy thing is, I I have been doing the same thing, Toy. Like I'm doing the same stinking thing, and I'm still battling with it myself. And just even like over this last like 48 hours, I'm trying to refocus my brain and refocus. Like what's what's my thing? Like I love teaching, and if I do this until the day that I die, let me tell you something. I will have lived a full and productive life because I love my job. I love teaching. I don't want to do anything else. I love working with young knuckleheaded kids all the time, right? I find enjoyment in that for some strange reason, right? But I even need to challenge myself. So I love when I tell my students these things. Like I'm not like you guys all got to do this stuff. Like no, I got to do it myself too. I'm in the trench with you. I'm still rediscovering. Just because I'm the teacher and I've done the college thing, that doesn't mean I get it all. I don't get it all. I'm still trying to figure it out. Even today, we were just talking about budgeting, and we were going over like income and expenses, and I had some categories written down, and a student asked the question, well, your category is different from mine. I'm like, it doesn't matter. What really matters is that you understand income and expenses and trying to get your expenses to fit underneath your income. What stinking category you put for the expense? I put clothes, you put shopping. Okay, cool. It's the why behind that that's more important than the category you're writing down on the paper. So, because if when we're all done, you're not going to remember Archbold said this, you're going to remember, man, he said I got to make sure my expenses come underneath my income. Okay, cool. Let me try to do that. That's more important than the stinking category and what line on the sheet of paper I gave to you to put in there. Doesn't matter. It's the why, and it's the training of your brain, so to speak, so that way you can uh, when you have to, when it comes time for you to implement muscle memory, right? Muscle memory will get you to do that. So,
Hopefully they'll remember to keep it that way, because I spent a great portion of my life with those categories backwards.
and you know what? We talk about experiential, experimental learning or whatever. And I explain to the students all the time, just like my mom and dad did. And if and when they ever listen to this, right, they all know that I use their stuff. But it is so important to make sure you understand the why behind it all. Because if you don't understand the why, you'll just float, right? You'll float. and you'll just do it to do it, and then at the end you'll say what, and you'll get no benefit from it. So, you know.
That is so true. Plus, that's where the motivation comes in if you know why you're doing something, which is a lot of times the issue with motivation in class because the kids, okay, I'm just really only doing this to get a grade and to get through it. And I'm not, like you said, you want them to leave better than when they came in. And that's
and
super important.
and when you think, right, as a business educator, right, and again, no disrespect to my science and my math and my history people, the things that we teach our students in our CTE classes are things that they must do to be, I would say, financially well off. And then when they're going through job interviews, resume creation, all those things, how to interact with the mentor, how to shake hand, all those things are like vital. And like you said, you got the expenses messed up with the income. I got the credit messed up with everything. Right? I didn't know what was going on. I said, hold on. So you're telling me if I fill out this application, you're gonna give me a credit card and a beach towel? Right? So, yeah, I'm going to sign up. I get the beach towel and I get a credit card. Oh, so I actually have to pay this bill back.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're telling me. Oh, I didn't learn. Like everyone, you have to learn the hard way. But I try to give them like those real life experiences, right? I give them a good example with, when we talk about credit. I tell them, I said, hey, you know what? I love my brothers. I got two older brothers. I'm the baby. If my brother needed a loan and needed somebody to co-sign, I'm going to hug my brother, give him a big kiss on the cheek, and say, go elsewhere. Because, oh, that's not right, Mr. Archbold. That's your family. Well, let me explain to you. His credit stinks. If his credit stinks and the banks, whose job it is to give credit, won't give it to him, why am I going to do it? I'm not independently wealthy just to loan out $50,000. So, but it's, you try to give them those things because I know they have like, man, my uncle asked my mom for a cosigner. What? Or I try to give them those things so it connects, and I always let them know I've got it all in my family. I don't need to tell you to like look at all these other examples in the news. I got the examples in my family, and I know they have the examples in their family. So the more you can connect those real world things as compared to this floating theory all the time, it can hit home a little bit more for them.
I love that. That's so true. So you're not going to co-sign this loan for me that I
Uh, I'm gonna say you probably have other people who may be more independently wealthy than
Well, they
the
don't want any money anymore.
then I would say you need to work on your credit, and we'll start there.
I need to go elsewhere. Oh, awesome. So you mentioned about the incubator class. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that looks like, especially now? Because I spoke with an educator a little bit ago, and this is her second year doing the
Incubator.
incubator, and she's like, yeah, I thought I'm starting to get it figured out, and then poof, now it's something totally different.
Incubator, and again, I'm sure the individuals over at Uncharted Learning would probably explain it way better than I could. But I explain incubator like this: take your traditional entrepreneurship high school curriculum, right? Marketing, budgeting, branding. Take that class and then like inject it with a lot of energy and inject it with a lot of coaches, mentors, great curriculum, getting the kids to get hands on and touch and calculate and ask and do and fail and try and fail and try and fail and really doing the work. It is not a class that allows you to just, let me Google that answer real quick and see what it is. It's not that. Everything is self-produced, right? There's, they give you the curriculum and all those things, but it's all, there's no answer for the problem unless they seek it out, create the solution, or ask mentors or other people to help. One of the things that I have found best about the incubator curriculum is embedded in it are coaches. Coaches take certain topics, positioning, market segmentation, legal, and they come and they speak with the students and say, hey, this these are our experiences. This is how you can apply it. This is how I've experienced it. And it allows the students to get that real world example. Again, I can give them my best understanding of what market segmentation is. I am not in marketing. I've never worked in marketing outside of selling yellow pages, right? But I don't know how that all works. I can read it and I can be effective with helping them figure that out for their product and or service. But when they have somebody that comes in and talks, and I've had some awesome, stellar coaches, young woman from Facebook. I had my cousin who has his own company, Allergy. It's like a medical device company. I had a gentleman from Urban Impact who's out in Seattle. I've had a lawyer come and speak. I've got people coming from CDW. So I've got some heavy hitters in their own specific topics that come and really I couldn't do what they do, so them coming in is great. And then the second thing that's really great about the program is they have mentors. I'm actually in the process now. I've got 5 teams pairing them with mentors who are going to kind of help and guide them along their business development kind of journey. And it again allows them to not tune my voice out all the time, but it allows them to start to develop those professional relationships, right? Whether they decide that they really want to start this business or they want to continue it or whatever the case may be, it's going to allow them to say, hey, I'm Michael Archbold. Nice meeting you. I am, this is it gives them public speaking. It allows them, like, how do I create this relationship? How do I cultivate it? How do I maybe in a year's time have to come back and ask this individual for help? How do I make sure that I'm developing it in the right way so when I do come and ask for help, he or she isn't going to say, well, I don't know you because we never really, developed anything. So hopefully I'm answering your question there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know I love that with the coaches and the mentors, because we see when teachers are able to do that, how much more successful it is. Because it's just bringing these real, like, as a teacher, you're like a unicorn. Like if you see the teacher in the mall or whatever, you're like, oh, yeah, this person's a human. But to actually have these people they can kind of identify with and learn from is really, really important. I'm curious, how do you find your coaches and mentors?
2 ways. One, this past summer when I knew that I would be teaching this course, I I if I use the terminology grinding, right? Like just grinding. I was grinding every day. I was calling Chamber of Commerce. I called the local Chamber of Commerce. I called the state. I called the city. I cold called businesses. I reached out to networks of people that I knew. I did. I at least had a contact with every business organization, I think, in a general radius of where I live. At least one time they heard from me. They may not have answered, but they at least heard from me. So like, yeah, I saw some email from some dude who was asking me about something, right? But I did that. And also, Uncharted Learning and the Incubator program provided a lot of coaches for me. They are working with CDW and have a partnership with them, so they provided a good chunk of mentors and some of the coaches to work with us. But let's say for the first year teacher, they have what they would call a community champion, right? And he or she is kind of the liaison between the teacher and the community. His or her job is to, hey, we got this program, we need people to come and help, and that's what they would do. I was kind of, I quasi had a community champion who, whatever, but I ended up doing all the work myself, which was fine. But again, I'm a high school teacher and I have curriculum to go through. So I don't necessarily have time every day, every other day, once a week to spend an hour hitting the phones. So Incubator has been extremely generous and kind to kind of assist with making sure that I have what I need. Now, the great thing about the program is it's set up that if I don't have any coaches, the kids can still go through the curriculum. So it's not that it is solely dependent on them, but it clearly, again, back to my original example, if you got a marketing person, they can come in, they can share more experiences than I can read the curriculum, I can teach the kids, they can get the info, but it lends more credibility when it comes from a professional. So yeah.
That's great. Again, because that's the part that I would think would be intimidating for me as a teacher, especially that you just have this new curriculum, and then all on top of that, you've got this whole other, full-time job. You got to get out to your yellow pages. You got to find all the business people.
Right. I know. Again, so when sidebar, I just got a yellow page, I think like a month ago on my porch. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? You recognize that we use the web now. But I think I knew about Incubator for so long, right? I've known about it for years, 5, 6 years, somewhere in that range, right? So I've always was pushing in my district to get it. I thought it was awesome. I think it was like the next, we were doing the entrepreneurship. I just think we could have done it better, right? And sometimes when one person is trying to do the heavy lifting, it's super heavy. All right. So when I heard about Incubator, man, I researched, I talked, I had friends that taught it, I did all this stuff. And when, through barriers, I kept pushing. And finally I got somebody on our side who said, hey, this is a great program. Let's make it happen. So for me at that time, I was okay with grinding and I was okay with hustling because I thought my students deserved it. And anything that I was going to have to go through for them to get this program, I was willing to do it. So over the summer, when I was like making phone calls for 2, 3 hours a day, it sucked. I didn't want to do it, but I knew that my students were gonna benefit. And again, my students deserve just the best as any other district in our state or in the country. So if it took me making some phone calls, I'm good. I can handle that.
Awesome. Good for you. That's really amazing. Can you talk about some, or maybe share a story or two from some of your students and to your teams, and what they're able to create and put out into the world?
Uh, so some of that I'm going to hold off on because if I say it and then somebody comes up with their idea, they're probably going to be super mad at me. But I do know one of the things, and hopefully, if I don't answer your question, tell me. I think one of the things that's really good about the incubator program is getting kids to seek out problems and then find solutions to those problems. And I think even if they never start, quote unquote, start and run the business, whatever that may mean, I think just the process of them stepping back from themselves, so to speak, and looking and saying, man, my mom struggles with her clothes falling off the hanger, which is one of my groups. My closet always gets messed up. Well, why is that? Because the hangers aren't made in a certain way that holds up certain clothes. So one of my teams is trying to design a more collapsible type hanger. So it stretches with, you got wide shoulders or whatever, or, something to that effect. I've got another team that's kind of working on a portable office, right? So if you're traveling, Toy, right? You travel to California, right? And you need a printer or you need something, and you don't want to go to one of these incubator hubs, right? Like you got to get in and get out. If there was a case or some type of carrying device where you could have your mobile office with you, that's a problem that they're looking at. So those are two that come to mind. But I also had 2 years ago, I had a young man who was creating a mobile detailing business. and he would I was like, mobile detailing. I heard about it and stuff. He came and he detailed my car and did an excellent job, right? And I know 2 years ago he was doing lots of teachers' cars, right? And again, if you know anything about detailing, it ain't cheap. And he wasn't cheap either, but he did an awesome job. So anytime I hear when students are doing that, I try to encourage them if there's something I can do. Again, I'm not a business owner myself, but I know business owners and I know people who want to help people. So if I can connect a student or make some phone calls to get him or her in contact with somebody, that's what we're supposed to do. So I don't get kudos for doing that, and I don't need kudos. I want them to be successful. So anything I can do to help them to be successful, I think that's ultimately why I'm a teacher, right? Because like we want to help our kids. I want my personal blood kids to be more successful than me. So any opportunity or anything I can do to help make you more successful, then that's what we're supposed to do as parents, because that's what we're supposed to do, right? I always looked at it. My mom and dad gave me a little piece, right? I'm going to take their little piece and add another little piece to it. So that way, when I give it to my kids, now they got two. Their job's to add the third spot. So when they pass on their kids, right? And that's how you build some sustainability in your family and wealth and all that other good stuff. So
We have a store for football and baseball cards now because we're supporting our son's entrepreneurship. And we can't sell that. We need to sell the first one. I think the first one is the hardest because nobody knows you yet.
the thing that my two boys, my oldest two boys, this summer created a lemonade stand. If I told you that they made over $100 the majority of the time, would that shock you?
No, not if they had a good place. Like a good,
Our house is right on the corner. So on the days when it was like 100, they would sit out there for 3 or 4 hours, and I'm telling you, $150.
oh my gosh.
Right. But then, so I was like, the first time I said, okay, cool. We'll supply the jug and the water. And I was like, after that, you're gonna have to start bucking up some money. I'll give you the free water, but it's our lemonade, it's our cups. So after that, I said, hey, this is what you need to start doing. It's $3 for the sleeve of cups. Okay, cool. You pull your money, So explaining to them, and again, they can talk to my wife. My wife's like, let's just buy them cups. And I'm like, look, we need to price everything out. What are your expenses? Where's your income coming from? You got 3 guys working on this. How much is each getting? What are you doing? And I come in with my high school business, and they're just like, look, Dad, just chill out, man. We're just selling lemonade. So, but it's all good.
You can't help it. You've got that finance thing. You got to make it real. That's awesome. I know my kids like, okay, Mom, it's enough entrepreneurship. I don't want to talk about entrepreneurship anymore. Like, but you're learning and you just don't want to admit it. But yeah, that's
again, to me, it's really about experimenting and just trying. And I am getting on that the brain space, I guess, to really be okay with failure. And if we would have had this conversation, I would even say 5 years ago, I don't know if I would have said I was okay with failure. I think I was very, is that failure adverse? Like, I don't want to, because like failure is not cool, right? And like it's you're weak if you fail, and it makes you feel a little strange if you fail. And I think that I've gotten to the point where failure's a good thing if you learn from it. If you fail and you don't learn from it, then failure is really, really bad. You don't want to keep doing that. But if you learn from it and you can take one thing away that you could improve on to not end up in that same result, that's awesome, man. Like that's the good, like the sweet spot, man. Like that's like the sweetness right there when you can say, you know what, I did this. and I failed, but man, it's because I didn't look to the left. Okay, cool. Next time, let me try it. Let me look to the left and see if it works. And I think, especially in our class, in the incubator class specifically, I push them and I stress every single day, it is okay to fail. Failure is good. Bad failure, again, not learning, no bueno. Good failing is okay. And I try to teach my kids that. When we were talking right before we got on, effort's good. When you put the effort in and you try and you get the end result, or you don't get the end result, but you know why, that's awesome. And I think for too long, and it's more on us as educators than it is on the kids, like F bad, you failed. Okay, next thing. No, okay, F bad, but why did we get the F? Let's talk about it. Let's do those things. And again, maybe every teacher did it but me. I don't know. Maybe I'm not myself. But I know I was very, very against failing. I didn't like it. It was weird. And I think I've been okay, and I try to let my students know, hey, I messed up. I told you guys the wrong thing last week or yesterday. This is what it is. So I not only try to tell them, right, because they listen in and out, right, one side, not the other, but hopefully they see by my actions when I say, man, I messed up and admit failure. This is what we should have did. Let me ask you, how do you think we could do it better? Right, so including them in on that process, and especially with Incubator, I feel like it's a circle. It's a continual circle, right? We try it, you get feedback, it didn't work. We try it, we get feedback, and you're going on that circle, and that's a good thing. Because again, when they life, right? It's okay, cool. You're in my class and we're talking incubator and we're talking all, but life, like, what are you gonna do when you get out of these walls? Because here we'll rub your back. It's like, okay, it's okay, Johnny. It's okay, right? We rub your back and everything's perfect. But no, when you get out, like, the real world's gonna smack you. How are you gonna react to it, man? How are you going to react to it? Are you going to crumble and say, oh man, it was tough, I couldn't do it? Or are you going to say, man, that sucks, I got to figure out how to do it again? Let me get some help. Let me pull in some resources. Let me reach out. Let me look here, right? And I think even through all this COVID mess that we're dealing with, I talk with my wife all the time about this. Our kids are either going to become, for lack of a better word, wimps. They're just going to be wimps, and they're not going to be able to stand, or they're going to be the most resilient group of kids that we've ever seen coming out of this. And I phrase it to my kids. They're, man, this remote learning sucks, Dad. I'm like, it sucks too. I'm doing the same thing you are. It sucks. But guess what? We're learning, and we're still putting that foot forward, right? We're still putting the foot forward. Don't stop. As soon as you stop, you have lost. And we can't be losers, because that's not what I'm about. I like to win.
I'm like, I feel like you just coached me just now. I'm like, yeah, right. And I was having a yucky day before because I was feeling a little defeated by my fifth graders. So, Jim, we're going back to class, buddy.
But I am telling you, it is so. And again, I tell you because I'm learning it myself. So it's nothing that I'm able to just, well, I read this in a book, and, don't have a positive attitude, right? No, like, if we don't tell ourselves and we don't implement it and we don't do it, you're living a falsehood. And I'm trying. I'm on the plane like every other schlub. I'm trying. It's tough. It stinks. I wish we were back in school. I want to cry some days, right? Like the other day, I was just like, I told my wife, I was like, sweetheart, I am over this. I'm done. I don't want to do it. But there's this thing on the other side of my brain that says, dude, you're a high school teacher, bro. Like, you got to keep pushing. And it's like sick. And I keep pushing because I love what I do. So it is what it is. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
we're not changing it. We're not changing it. It is what it is. So
what does that look like in your classroom, especially with the incubator where you have teams? How do you manage that?
How am I trying to manage? I think the I really think honesty and being transparent is helping. And by no means am I telling you that I have figured it out, because I have not under any circumstance figured it out. But I try to be honest with the kids, and I try to be transparent. I let them know I am learning along with them in this journey. Not only am I learning the curriculum, right? I get it, I understand it, I've seen it, I've studied it, I know that, but I'm learning how to implement it with them. So when they ask and I don't know, I got to go find out, but I will come back tomorrow and find something for you. So I think that, uh, I guess procedural wise, we use an LMS Schoology. So we use, similar to those that don't know, like Google Classroom, right? So we post assignments, we do things there, and then we also use Google Meets as well. So I use those. That's kind of like our classroom is Google Meets. But when we have student work time or team work time, I put them in Schoology, and Schoology has breakout rooms where I put them in rooms and I give them some time to kind of work, independently and go from there. But it's tough because incubator it's a due class. As I mentioned when we first start, it there's no googling an answer. It's not, it's you can't, how many, no, it's, you got to figure out, you got to talk. Hey, I have this problem, do you have this problem, tell me about it. There's no googling that answer. Now you can make up any type of BS you want to, but when it really comes down to it, then as I've told them, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. You put boo boo down on a piece of paper, you're gonna get boo boo coming out. Okay, so I try to get them. You got to try, man. We're all in this together. It really is. So I I try my best to give them that type of mindset when they're looking at things, so that way they can, at least try to understand the curriculum, try to work with their teams. But it's tough. I don't. There isn't a real good answer. It's they're in teams and they don't see their teammates except on a computer.
Yeah.
So it's not like, and again, it's not that I'm like standing over Toy's shoulder when she draws the circle instead of the square. I'm trusting you that you're drawing the circle instead of the square, right? Like I gotta trust you. So there's a sense that I got to give up some of that control, and I know all the time they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and but it's you got to try. I think that's really it.
Love that. And I like that you have your kids kind of come in to help with that decision making process too, so that they feel like, they're being supported and their voices are heard as well. That's really, really important.
I
But
think
yeah,
it's crazy. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I think it's crazy that you say that, and I'm not an educational theorist or anything, but all the things that I think I'm trying to do and that I'm learning, and I give 100% credit to Uncharted Learning and the Incubator Squad for helping kind of keep my mind right through all this craziness. But all the things that you were talking about are all things that I think I was scared to do before. If you would have again asked me 5 years ago, hey, would you bring kids on decision making? What do they know? They can't make decisions, what? But now I couldn't imagine not. I couldn't imagine not asking my class, what do you all think? How do you think we could make this better? What's the best way for me to do this? How can I how how can I get this to you in the best way? Because I recognize I'm a 40-year-old, you know, half bald, shining, guy here who's trying to make it like everybody else, man. I'm just trying to make it. And I don't have the answers. I can tell you from my 43-year-old perspective, I can tell you what I think and what I've heard and it may work, but I need you. I need you to buy in. And for me, it's been really tough because I've learned from my pastor that I I I am energized by people. Like I feed off of your energy, like an amoeba or something. I don't know if that's the correct sound, right? But I I I need I need your energy. So I need your energy, Toy. I need to see your face, your smile, your nodding of your head, your body. I need that, and that like yeah, she's getting it right.
Yep.
Doing this over the camera has been extremely tough because I don't always get that. So I've got to try to get at you a different way. And and as tough as it is to say you just want to give up, like you can't because that's just not part of my personality. But I got to do something, and if I can get you to buy into something that I'm, what is it, spitballs on the wall, I'm gonna keep throwing them until one of them sticks, and if it sticks, then we're gonna roll with it.
Yep. And that's so true now more than ever, but even before COVID, that it's that like when I started teaching, I had that same kind of fear of I was just had the only example I had was teachers that I'd had in my past, right? Because I didn't have a traditional teacher education. And I came in like, oh, I remember one time I totally botched an algebra problem, like the easiest thing you could do, and I botched it. And the kids started chuckling at me. And I felt like the heat rising up in my face, like I didn't have the answer. And then now over time and working with entrepreneurship and working with experiential learning, I'm like, that's better that I don't have the answer. It's better that the question is ungoogleable, right? It's better that I can be like, I might be ahead of you in some of these areas over here, but what you're working on with your hanger or your thing, or you're like, I'm right with you. Like you said, I'm on the plane too. I don't know where this is going. I can help you, but I don't know, you have to make those decisions. And I think that just that experience, like you said, even if it doesn't even become a product or it doesn't even go in, that experience is that growth mindset. And they're starting and they don't get that. Honestly, it's still not happening. It's not the norm in education. So to like entrepreneurship, this pun totally intended, but like this light bulb went on over my head when I started teaching entrepreneurship because I'm like, this is what I was missing is this way for like to get at those kids' mindsets to make things important and show them, get them energized about school, about something. And, sometimes the classes like what you're teaching, that's like the best part of their whole day, you know?
And I really hope that again, the goal in any of my classes, I got to give you the curriculum. I hope that, especially in the incubator, that the kids walk away with understanding how to think, how to collaborate, how to problem solve, how to fail right, how to fail right, and be okay with that. And I believe if they can learn those skills, it doesn't make them a perfect human being, but it gives them a leg up when they walk out of the four walls of high school, right? Because in many instances, we baby them and we carry them. We can carry it however you want to think of what I'm saying carry. We can carry a kid for 4 years, right? Whatever that means to you, we can carry a kid for 4 years. When they're done that fifth year, what's it look like? What's it look like for him or her? Did did
Good.
they learn? Did they learn budgeting? Did they learn credit? Did they learn how to build a website? Or were they just carried and now they're kind of like looking around the room? And I try my best to make sure to not carry kids. I try my best to say, hey, grab, I'm gonna give you the tool belt. It's empty. I'm gonna throw a bunch of things at you. Grab something and put it there. So when you walk out of my class, you got something in the belt. I don't care what it is. You don't got to tell me. Maybe down the road you send me an email, Mr. Archbold, I did so and so and I learned it. Puts a smile on my face. But put something in the tool belt so you can use. Every interaction, grab something. You might not understand it all. Grab something. I don't care. Even just yesterday, I talked to Michelle from EntreEd Learning, and she said, even if your kids just learn from a presenter that shirt was too loud, and that when they're giving a speech, they don't want to wear a loud shirt, she's like, be okay with that, right? Be okay with it. But again, it's not about the shirt, right? It's about listening and learning and being able to decipher, pull. I don't know if there's a word, but being able to analyze. Okay, cool. All this mess is coming at me. I got to grab something. Let me grab this thing because that sounded cool. Okay, you're better because you didn't have that piece before, but now you got it. So.
Well, I was going to ask you, what advice might you give an educator that is getting started on this experiential learning journey? But I think you just answered it.
Yeah, I think, if I have anything to add, because again, I love hearing myself talk. So I think the biggest thing that I would tell someone, or even a new teacher, is is be okay with failing. I if that's the one thing, be okay with failing. Because if you're so scared to do something wrong, you're so scared you'll never try.
Right.
You're so scared that, like, oh my gosh, what's the kid going to say? What's my boss going to say? What am I going to think of myself? Be okay, man. Who cares? Just try it. If it fails, try something different.
That's so true. And I've suffered so long with that same kind of like, well, I really want to try this, but I'm scared I won't get it right. And so this podcast is a great example. And I've probably had lots of people go back and listen to the first podcast and laugh their rear ends off, because my co-host and I were like, you know what, we're doing it. We're doing it right now. And it's been an amazing journey, and we're only like a year and a half into it so far, but it's that same, just go. And you know what, it might fail, it might not fail, but it's okay because you learn.
Here at EntreEd, we are continually searching for new ways to support you and your entrepreneurial programming, initiatives, and innovations by offering a rich array of professional development options, resources, events, and networking opportunities. EntreEd is excited to now offer all of those fundamentals in one place, introducing our new membership portal to help launch your career. There are both individual and school memberships available. Your students will thank you. Join the community today at entreed.org/membership.
This has been incredible because I've been able to meet amazing folks like you through this. I would have never met you otherwise, most likely. So
the thing that I'm getting better at, nobody else cares but me. When I fail, nobody else cares.
Yep.
Right? Like I fail, like oh my gosh, like I did this. Nobody cares. Nobody really does in the big picture. Like, I'm the only one that's really in my feelings about not doing well. So if we, and again, we meaning myself, if we can get over like that, like ego, right? Getting over that ego that says, I got to do everything right, I got to be perfect. If we can get over that mess, oh my gosh, like what the heck can we stinking do? Like, seriously, what can we stinking do if we get over that? Like, oh my gosh, who knows? We would do so many great things because that ego would be like pushed back, and we'd say, cool, let's go, let's do it. So
the secret to life, my friend. I think you figured it out. It's like when you're walking around and you're mortified because you found out you had like a spaghetti stain on your shirt, and you're walking and you just think that everybody notices, and nobody cared. Nobody did.
No.
My mom used to tell me that when I was a kid. I never believed her until now, but I would be horrified about something. She's like, no one even cares. No one even notices that. So yeah, it's get out of your own way is pretty much. I don't know why it takes people till 40 to figure that out. It took me that long. Maybe I'm still working on it.
because we're still in our feelings. That's what it is. Like, we don't want to look stupid. I know that I'm not as cool as I think I am when I'm in front of my high school kids. Like, I think I'm like way like, yeah, dude, they all love me because I'm so cool. It's like, not really, dude. Chill out. Okay. But I just, you really just got to get out of your way. And I'm really trying to get on that journey myself of getting out of the way and being okay with failure. So I am still learning, and I just told my brother last night when I talked to him, like, I feel like I'm on the cusp of like something clicking for me. I don't know what it is, but I really feel that I'm on the cusp of something, and I gotta lean into it. I gotta keep pressing. I don't know what it is, but I feel that my brain's spinning, and I something something. So
Can't wait to
I
find
don't
out what it is.
know.
Get a
Me
call.
too. Me too. I hope I figure it out soon too.
I want to know when you have this. I don't know, is cataclysmic the right word? That would be awesome. Well, so we are about at our time. So the last question is always, how can folks reach out to you if they want to know more about you and what you're doing and all that good stuff? If you want to give your number so that they can call you at 3 a.m., you can do that if you feel so inclined. Or just tell them where you're working at if they want to know more about the course.
Well, two things. One, I would say you can. I am on Twitter because I'm at least trying to get to that. I am at Archbold Educate. It's ARCHB as in boy, OLD as in David, EDUCATE. Archbold Educate. I'm on Twitter. So I am, again, just like everyone else, I am trying to learn. I am not the most tech savvy social media person, but I do recognize value, and I have made some connections through Twitter that I think are benefiting me. And I would just say the last thing: make connections, right? Because I've got a great friend who I would call a friend now that I met at a conference. I was in one of his sessions, and he is like I would call my quasi mentor, so to speak, right? Because when I'm like pondering like things about teaching or just life, he's always good to kind of like push me and say, hey man, you're scared and that's why you didn't do it. Like, let's just be real about that. And I'm like, you're right, man. So that's what I got. So
Awesome. Well, everybody, please reach out to Michael and tweet away. I'm trying to wrap my arms around Twitter myself. It's difficult to just keep going and keep that momentum. It's very hard to do. People don't realize how hard it is.
it's like it's a second thing. It's another thing that you got to keep up on. So maybe if and when I become, one of the things is if and when I ever decide to start becoming a motivational speaker, I guess I will probably have to be way better about my social media presence than I am right now as a high school business teacher. So we'll see.
That is awesome. Well, Michael, I could talk to you all day. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, and I am sure we will have a round 2 with you if you are so inclined, because you are just delightful to listen to and to chat with. So thank you so much. We're so grateful to have you today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. I hope that I did not, take up too much of the space yapping my gums here. I hope I shared something that one person can use, because then it would be a success for me. So thank you so much. I appreciate talking to you. I also hope that this is not our last communication.
It won't. I know how to find you. Thanks again. And thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you next time. We won't see you. We'll talk at you next time.